Hello and welcome to the 6th round of oNiD's first series on the Mon Ultimate. We are here at the wonderful Fuji circuit for what should be an exciting 60-minute race coming up. As always, joining me and directing us through the series is the wonderful Sam Grant.
Good evening. Welcome. Thank you again for joining me, Scotty. You're going to be invaluable tonight.
Yes, Fuji, a circuit we're not too familiar with. It's not one we've seen too much. We've not seen on ACC. We did have a sort of a mini endurance race around here on South Corsa last year with hypercars, with GT3s, but that was a while ago last year. My memory's certainly not very good to remember it that much. So some drivers might have a little bit of experience from that, if they haven't been racing, of course, on LMU since it has come out. But we are also racing on something slightly newer that came in the February update, which is now almost 2 months ago, which I find hard to believe. Time is absolutely flying, but yeah, we are racing on the no chicane layout. So when drivers get towards the end of the second sector, coming through the fast right-handers, 300R towards turn 10, instead of braking for a very tight right-hander that leads into a chicane, almost hairpin-like, they'll be taking a very fast right-hander that will lead them into the final sector that is very tricky, especially since the long corners in the final sector. You've got to be careful with the traction control, especially the lack of ABS2 in the hypercars. The corners, the assists, since you can't lean on them as much as you can on ACC, it's something that caught me out quite a bit in the final sector when I was learning the game, as I did my first race on LMU around here. Very tricky final sector. I think we'll see quite a few mistakes. I think we'll see a few people struggle, but it should make for some interesting racing. And of course, that middle sector, being as technical as it is, will be difficult when the classes come together. Now, qualifying has just started, but I believe we're having a couple of technical issues. So hopefully we will get our visuals back on the track as soon as we can. But the drivers will just be completing their outlaps and getting those tires up to temperature. All important, of course. We have a very, very warm conditions, 20 degrees ambient, 42 degrees track temperature. So it could be very difficult for the drivers here to manage their tires throughout the race, try and keep the temperatures within a good window, especially through some of the corners, like the long right-hander of 100R, where you're just constantly abusing that front left tire. And not a slow corner, it is quite quick, especially in the hypercars, so you will pull off temperature, and I imagine we'll see those that tire overheating throughout the race. I believe drivers can use the hard tire here at Fuji. We might see some people do that in the race. I don't know if anyone is doing that in qualifying here. Might still be useful in qualifying to help you push through. But yeah, we'll get an idea as we see Dave Wood now on their first flying lap, coming through the 100R now, this long right-hander, and immediately leads you into turn 6, the left-hand hairpin here, which very tricky braking zone, trying to position the car in the right place, and continues to turn on the exit, so it could be difficult to put the power on, and you'll see a few corners like that through the final sector that we're getting to soon. Through the quick right-hander, which the drivers will have to familiarize themselves, not a more recent addition to the Mon Ultimate, and then we're into this final sector. Long right-hander, see the car sliding around over the crest, now into this long left-hander, most difficult braking zone of the track, I would say. You go into this final corner, or sorry, final 2 corners. No, it's just turn 16. Again, very difficult to get the car turned into the apex. You can see different lines, people taking a wide entry, shallow entry. See more of a shallow entry there from Dave Wood on their first flying lap. Very important exit too, because you've got this start-finish straight, which I believe is about a kilometre long. So you're full throttle for quite a while. It's going to make fuel saving difficult, probably roll out any fuel-saving strategies, and it makes a very difficult braking zone for turn 1 as you're slowing down from nearly 320 kilometers an hour for this hard. But Dave Wood running wide, possibly invalidating their second lap here as they continue to get up to speed. Their first lap has a P4, 10th and a half the top time set by Elvin Blomqvist of 124.9.
Indeed, and on their way again, very fast track. Obviously, getting that exit at that final corner is, as you're saying, crucial. And another circuit, I think we've talked about strategy throughout the series, but another circuit that I think is pretty much in the bag in terms of drivers needing to stop. But every week we say this, and every week we're probably surprised by drivers putting out some alternative strategies and somehow making it work, as Dave makes a little bit of an error there after going purple in the first sector. And I'd say Lancaster, I don't know if you did say it, sorry, 8 thousandths off of blockers there, so terribly close on their opening laps, but also terribly hot up there. So, struggle with the tyres through a couple corners, and you're going to be spending some time getting them back into a state where you can actually lean on them again.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be very important with these 15-minute sessions, if you can't got enough time, especially the shorter lap around Fuji and 124s, obviously a bit longer, what we're seeing about 140s for the GT3s, it looks like, as Blomqvist further puts himself top of the board. Alfie Bevan going into second place and getting all over the exit curb of turn 3 there. Very difficult left-hander. You'll spot your apex, carry the speed, and take a little bit of risk on that exit curb. It has still got a valid lap at personal best, but 3/10 lost to Elvin Blomqvist in that first sector. So we'll see how this lap continues to progress up through the quick right-hander now, where the chicane would normally be. And it's a purple middle sector, nearly a 10th and a half up now on Blomqvist with just one sector to go. But it is easily the most difficult sector of the lap. Easily gets maybe too much apex there, runs wide now for Alfie Bevan, and the lap has got quite sloppy here with one corner to go. Very wide entry to the final corner, potentially setting up a good exit to start their next lap, just realizing that they've kind of thrown this lap away. Manders has put themselves up to second by 2 thousandths in front of Bevan. Has Bevan lost too much time? Yeah, that's very poor final sector. We see they're into the 125s. For Toy now, currently P11 in the Peugeot, will put themselves up to P7 at this stage.
Indeed, and that Peugeot is going to be another car tonight. It's going to do well, I think, obviously, with the longer straights. Typically, we've seen them, have a higher top speed. They are wingless, after all, to a degree, that is, and certainly will have an easier job, I think, than a lot of the cars tonight getting past on the straights. And maybe that helps with taking the pressure off, away from the rest of the track, just nailing the corners and just focusing on getting that final corner exit. And that's where your moves, obviously, everyone's going to be thinking that, I'm sure, it being such a crucial corner, but certainly will be interesting to see. I mean, at the moment, it looks very Cadillac heavy at the top of the field, barring P1, P2 with the Ferraris up there, but still a fair few Cadillacs as it stands.
Yeah, similar to what we've seen at Imola, the Ferraris and Cadillacs being strong, fighting over currently the top 5 positions. We've got 4 Cadillacs from 9th to 12th that I think maybe one of them can maybe spring themselves up into that battle and make it a 3v3 fight like what we saw at Imola. One of those being Tyler Hammer, who is only currently about 7/10 off of Blomqvist's time after the middle sector through the final corner. Looks neat and tidy from what we've seen in the final sector. 2 personal bests so far. Can they go for another one as times are changing towards the top of the field? We'll cover that in a moment once Tyler Hammer finishes their lap here, puts themselves up to P7, second off of Blomqvist's times. Lancaster has gone P2, Manders down to P3 now, and Bevan P4. Dave Wood nearly about 3/4 of a second off of Blomqvist. I think they'll want to try and close out a bit. And Jacob Hine sort of breaking up the Ferraris and Cadillacs at the front, being P6 in that lone Alpine as they've been all season.
Indeed, and Johnny Ashley here in the Mustang not having a good sector 1, but did put it up to P3, I think, in the last lap, or maybe possibly the one before, so does have pace as per usual throughout this series, in that Mustang, but we can see there on the board, actually, ignore me, I was looking at the wrong bit. I was going to say it's full of McLarens, but that's a different part of the board, but it does improve in the middle sector anyway, does Johnny Ashley, but it's still a fair bit off of the best time, and that would be because we're comparing it to hypercars. Let's look at actually compared to his class. Purple in the middle sector actually by 0.3. That mitigates the time lost in sector 1 to the leader with some to spare. So really, Johnny Ashley here so far looking to really push ahead deeper into the podium, challenging Cowley at least, and he's not far off Vespers either. So let's see what he does when he crosses the line in a few seconds. And has a slightly poorer sector 3 compared to the others. Improves on his time. Actually, I've read that a bit wrong. Improves on his time enough to actually still pull position away in class. That's such a terrible commentating performance, but I apologise. Johnny Ashley up into pole though.
Yeah, we are still getting used to all of stats and figures, and as we're still switching between ACC and LMU, so we're still learning a few things. And trust me, Sam, who along with the stream has been developing our broadcast tool, was trouble fixing right up till the stream started, making sure bringing new features in and fixing errors. So we greatly appreciate Sam's effort for that. So a lot has been going on behind the scenes, but we'll focus on this qualifying session as Leon Vespera is currently sitting P2, 700ths off of Johnny Ashley, having a little bit of a messy final sector here. They were purple in the first sector, didn't improve, lost all that time and a 10th more in the middle sector. But this final sector not looking good here. I don't think it's going to be a personal best as they come up to the line. The time ticking up to the 1:36 that we expect. There it goes. Yeah, it's a bit slower. 36.5, 3/10 off of Johnny Ashley's time at this moment. James Cowley just going to start another lap, currently sitting in P3, a 10th off of Johnny Ashley's time. But we're now just under 5 minutes left in session. We're going to see a lot of drivers sort of out onto a second stint as Ben Brown has a bit of a spin there. And James Cowley, just see the front left of that splitter sparking across the ground through the long right-hander of 130R. A 10th down on Johnny's time in the opening sector. Isn't a personal best, but is in the ballpark here for a good lap. Middle sector, very just as the hairpin and this fast right-hander where the chicane would normally be, looks to be very sensible, using a little bit of grass all the track on the exit. It's not a personal best again. Maybe the tires just dropping off for Cowley as they're into the final sector. They'll need a good final sector here as they're about a quarter of a second off of Ashley's time. It's by 1/10.5 off their own personal best. Again, the splitter just sparking in the braking zone for this final corner. They'll complete the lap out onto the long straight. We have about 10 seconds to wait before we get to see the time, just with the length of this straight. So we'll wait in anticipation. Cowley across the line now, does not improve, loses another 2/10. So I would say just the tires dropping off. Vespera so has improving another fastest first sector, personal best middle sector, but again loses all the time in the final sector, and despite improving was even slower than their previous best. Vespera just needs to put the lap together, get a good final sector while they're improving the first two. Alfie Bevan now has taken provisional pole in hyperclass ahead of Elvin Blomqvist, who hasn't improved in a good few laps, is on for another lap, is about 100th up by the end of the middle sector, but again doesn't improve in the final sector. Drivers struggling to put the whole lap together, likely as the tires are overheating.
Indeed, and there's nothing more frustrating than having a qualifying where you have the fastest sector 1 and then a poor sector 2, sector 3, etc. You know, there is still time though to get those laps in, and it is tricky though to get those tyres where you need to be with the time drawing down. You know, you're conscious that you need to take care of those tyres. At the same time, you need to push, get that lap in, and move up in qualifying as best you can. So close is the gaps now though. I mean, Blomqvist less than a 10th to Bevan, Vespers less than a 10th to Ashley, and Cowley obviously not far behind at all. Bevan improving massively in the purple sector, looking to further his lead as Blomqvist isn't that far away, as we were just saying, and even, you know, Manders, etc. still in contention here to steal that pole away from Alfie. He has a little bit of a moment there coming through the right-hander, slightly, ever so slightly lower in the sector 2 there, but still with that gains from sector 1, still is on a net improvement as he comes down the left-hander, looking tight, using all the exit there, all the curb. nicely there, trying to carry the momentum, working those tyres on the fronts there, trying to keep the rear in check as well. Such a tricky balance here with such high speed corners as he heads towards the line now.
Yeah, I would say not having the chicane makes this track even more difficult on the tires, but Bevan up to line, yeah, loses all the time in the final sector. I'd say most of that was in the final 2 corners, just a little bit too much carb usage, as Matt Webb has put themselves up into provisional pole for the GT3s in their McLaren. That gives us 3 different manufacturers in the top 3 for GT3. Hope maybe we'll see that stick, but it's very close. Top 4 within 2/10 for the GT3's top 3 within 2/10 for the hypercars. But yeah, session time is running out, just over a minute. Stevie Bean is coming up to line. They've messed up the final sector. I think it was looking very good, but has ultimately made a mistake. Will be starting their final lap and hoping that they can repeat what they were doing in the first 2 sectors there. It was a purple first sector, or at least faster than Alfie Bevan's first sector. Personal best middle sector, a few tenths off, but definitely would have been enough to jump them up a few positions had they not made a mistake. We'll ride on board with Stevie into this long right-hander, but you can kind of keep the throttle pin to some extent. The car understeering though had to wait to get back to full throttle, puts them on a tight line for the hairpin. Stevie sort of middle of the road on the exit of this hairpin as they now take the run down to what would normally be the chicane. Again, we are cutting the chicane for tonight. Hits their braking point into right-hander, not using too much curb. The car bounced up a little bit, but they keep it on the track. 2 personal bests here, sort of an average of what they did last lap. Not pushing too much maybe, but just having a clean lap so far. A bit wide of the apex penultimate corner, trying to pick up the throttle. Big moment of oversteer, struggling for traction. Middle of the road into this long final corner. Again, the rear just stepping out, doesn't have the grip, bounces over the curb. And the curbs are quite harsh on this game. You can't just lose time from not getting traction, and yeah, isn't improving. Well, decides to practice their pit entry. Quite difficult pit entry here. You've got this sort of chicane as you come in from very high speed with how long the straight is and just the distance from the final corner to the pit entry. But yeah, Jack Lancaster, purple middle sector, improves personal best and makes it a Cadillac 1-2 at the moment, beating Blomqvist by 0.08 of a second. The top 3 now separated by less than 600ths. Jacob Hine here on a lap. Personal best, pretty much matching Bevan in the first sector. 3.5 tenths off in the middle sector. Not personal best, so about 4 tenths off after the middle sector. Currently sitting P8. They could maybe get themselves up towards 6th or 5th here if the final sector has been good. But we know how difficult that final sector has been. What the time does improve, but it's not enough to gain any positions. Jacob Hine will be starting P8.
Indeed, as a few cars remaining on track, I think won't be making much improvement. Ben Brown does improve on in the first sector against his personal best, obviously. Cuts that corner there nicely. 5 tenths off of the lead there, though, and 2 tenths off, and slower than his personal best in the middle sector. 9th, though, so there is room for improvement. I mean, his best lap is 37.5 there, and Paul O'Grady, the driver ahead of him in class, is 4 tenths away. So it is a tricky jump from here, but we'll see if Ben can do it as he manages his way through the final sector. There are sectors, I should say, many drivers struggling with. That 12-second deficit or slower there from Stevie, must have meant a spin as well. That definitely didn't help his final lap. As Ben Brown also practiced his pit entry. A crucial thing to do, particularly as Fiji is not a track that these drivers would have driven at very much, I am sure.
So yeah, another what looked like a clean pit entry for Ben Brown and Stevie Bean. So yeah, important practice. I believe that is everyone in the pits for the end of qualifying, and this is going to be our starting grid. Alfie Bevan leads an all Cadillac front row with Jack Lancaster taking P2, an all Ferrari second row with Elvin Blomqvist in third, and Nick Manders taking P4. It would be a third Ferrari then. Dave Wood taking P5, with Stone Angel getting the old Peugeot up to P6. Tyler Hammer will go P7 ahead of our lone Alpine Jacob Hine taking P8 on row 4. Stevie Bain then will roll off P9 with Charlie Morgan getting a BMW into the top 10, and will roll off from there. For Toy just missing out, will roll off from P11 with Dan Tomlinson P12. Dak Silver and Daniel Lindblom leading another little trio of Cadillacs from 12th to 14th. Dave Spiller, Max Farrell for an all Porsche 8th row on the grid, and our final hypercar, Andy Hearn, rolling off from 17th. Matt Webb will take pole position in the GT3s in front of Johnny Ash and Leon Vesperas to make it 3 manufacturers within the top 3 of the GT3s. James Cowley will go off 4th ahead of Athel Basker in P5. Matthias Fuskin and Trinket de Tass will roll off P6 and P7 on row 12 overall. Paul O'Grady and Ben Brown then from the 13th row in 8th and 9th respectively. And Ollie Knowles will round out the top 10 with the Porsche in the GT3 class. Simon Harris just missing out in P11. Tom Watson and Ryan Davies in 12th and 13th for row 15 overall. Frank Vevick and Ben Myatt will roll 14th and 15th, with their final row being made up with Jack Page and Dean Smith.
Excellent, thank you very much. And you didn't get any warning this time, but still a great job. As we see the cars prepare then to start the race. Let's get some info on the screen as well.
Rolling up to the start, it's a long run to turn 1, a tight right-hand hairpin. Chaos could very much happen. Drivers will need to spot their braking points on slightly cold tyres and brakes. Easy to lock up, but we're green here at Fuji, making the run to T1. We can see a GT3 McLaren already stepping out of line, but we watch the hypercars bounding towards T1, trying to pick which point they're going to be. There's a Peugeot in pit lane. One of the Cadillacs getting onto the grass as they are 3 wide on the second row. Everyone trying to filter out, some people running wide, but it looks like everyone has kept it going the right way, even if a couple of people ended up off the track. And another Porsche, that might be Stevie Bean, running off. It was indeed into turn 3. As Goff find themselves back in the pack. Gotta be careful, and it's not going to be helping Johnny Ashley, who has jumped to the front. Matt Webb has had an issue and has dropped down to P8 within the GT3 class. Disastrous start for them, but Alfie Bevan leading the way from the start. Blomqvist up to second is getting from Lancaster. Trinket to Tass coming into issues at the hairpin of T6. Will get going again at the back of the field. Watch for the slightly slow McLaren there. But yeah, difficult starts for Toy was the Peugeot in the pit lane, by the way, as we see James Cuddy trying to look to the inside of Vesperas for second place, but wasn't quite close enough as the driver settling down. Now, Alfie Bevan already picking up a 1.9 second lead in the hypercars, but Johnny Ashley still under pressure in GT3s.
Yeah, Johnny, I'm sure, would be loving that stuff, but does need to get underway now. Get rid of this pressure from Vesperas and get on that racing line, driving optimally, taking care of those tyres, managing his fuel as much as he needs to. So we see a Mustang 1, 3, and 5 there in the top 5. So really are having a great start are those cars. Toy again, another hypercar that we've seen this before. They have to get through this GT3 pack as quick and as safely as they can, really. Sure, they have this massive speed advantage, but we've seen in previous races how much they can struggle to get past this slower field in some of the more technical tracks.
Yeah, it's very difficult because all the GT3s at this point are still bunched together. As we see McLaren's going side by side now. I believe that is Matt Webb and Ryan Davies. Yeah, Matt Webb on the outside coming into turn 3, not braving around the outside. So we're trying to go for a comeback. Go think of the outside through 100R. No, tucks back into line once again. Might be thinking, gets to the inside here as they come towards our pit. A little bit of wheel banging as there's carnage in front. Matt Fuskin is spun round, I believe, and more cars spun on the inside. That's Paul O'Grady going slowly, and an Aston, that might be Ben Myatt, spun round. Again, let's see here, the Aston up behind the Mustang through into the left-hander, and the contacts in front. The BMW is spun round, and that was Leon Vesperas, so they might be tagged round by Cowley, I would imagine. Looking at the timing screens, but yeah, disaster there for Leon Vesperas as Cowley has an issue here at the final corner, going slowly, and Ben Brown is now up to P3. They've had a fantastic start, up 6 positions within the GT3 class. Basker up 3 places, but yeah, GT3's those have stayed out of trouble have got going well, and that instant has given Johnny Ashley brilliant lead at this stage as we're 2 laps into the race, 3 seconds in front of Basker, and could be taking their 3rd win of the series today, which would put them tied on wins with James Kiley.
Indeed, and that's certainly helped for Toyota get through the field as quick as he possibly could. No one's got through the GT field quite as quick as that, I'm sure. As we see, not only the McLaren of Ryan Davies in the pit, but I think Liam Vespers limping there without a tyre on the front there. Really early pit stop, and I think actually, Scotty, obviously they've had to take the stops, but that's too early for them to really make any sort of strategy plays there. As Nick Manders slots up ahead of Tyler Hammer, and actually a car off in the background there. That's Son Angel going deep, and now down to 8th for them.
Yeah, Jacob Heim getting that position in front of the old Peugeot and is now going attacking after Tyler Hammer. Jacob Heim on a bit of a roll here. It's neck and neck, a bit of a drag race. The Cadillac might be getting a bit of slipstream off of the Ferrari in front, but it's going to be about who can pick their braking point, who can avoid locking up into this first braking point. And both drivers very sensible, but Jacob Heim will get the position, making 2 places there in the matter of a couple of corners, and might be trying to chase down Nick Manders for P5 now.
Indeed, he is. All these drivers wanting to get underway, you know, and kind of get into that rhythm, but there's so many fight screen. Andy Hearn here leads the way in this mini train, if you like. Sorry, Stevie Bain leads the way in his Bain train as per usual. Andy Hearn behind him in that Porsche as well, just opening up that left-hander a little bit more, a little bit of lock-up from the Cadillac behind. Who's really pressuring Andy Hearn is Daniel Lindbaum, almost coming side by side now as he approaches the right-hander here. Not quite enough of an overlap, but really is putting the pressure on Hearn here, and that's giving Stevie the chance to scuttle away as quick as he can without getting involved in this fight, and pulling out a gap here. He's going to be seeing this in his mirrors and watching this unfold and hoping it goes on for as long as possible. We also see the BMW in the background of Charlie Morgan trying to catch up to these two again. Another car hoping these two continue to fight so they can take advantage of it.
Yeah, Andy Hearn up 4 places from the back of the hypercar field, keeping their nose clean, but could be coming under a bit of pressure. Charlie Morgan in the background is going to be quite a disastrous start, having dropped 5 places from where they qualified in P10. But we look a little further up. Here's Nick Manders trying to stretch the gap to Jacob Heim, maybe go chasing after Dave Wood in front. 4-second gap there. Have a little look at that. Sometimes Manders was a bit slower than Dave Wood, so might not be able to do that. So we'll come to this battle for the final position in the top 10. Max Farrell in the Porsche trying to chase down Dan Tomlinson in the Chevy. A little wiggle from the Porsche in the braking zone for the hairpin. A lock-up for Stevie being in the background. See the puff of smoke just coming off the was one of the front tyres. For Farrell, just trying to close this gap up, is about half a second back. Can be quite difficult to make a move, but if they can just stay close enough down start finish straight, a bit of slipstream could help them make a move into T1. Here we have Simon Harris going for a move on Ollie Knowles, and looks like they are going to get that move done into T1 as this train 4 cars deep, featuring led by Simon Harris now, having taken that position. Ollie Knowles ahead of Matthias Fuskin and Matt Webb, as we have a yellow flag out for Max Farrell, who has dropped out of the chase for the top 10 in the hypercar class, dropping to 16th now, where they started this race in the hypercar class. So might get a replay in a moment of what happened there, but we'll keep following this battle here. Ollie Knowles trying to come back on the McLaren driver Simon Harris, as we also see Matt Webb trying to get in front of the Mustang of Fuskin, but through the fast right-hander into the final sector here. If driver's taking a wider line, the McLaren going to the inside actually can't stay alongside the Mustang, bending the position off for now, but very difficult position for some of these drivers in the middle of this pack as they try and sort of attack but also defend. So being held up a little bit. The Porsche trying to go for the wide line. The Mustang sees the gap puts up the inside, gets themselves in front of McLaren. Simon Harris running wide, dropping both positions there. Will lose out to the second McLaren of Matt Webb as well. But with the slipstream, Matt Webb doesn't actually have the momentum, and it's now a drag race between the Porsche and the Mustang towards T1. The Porsche is on the inside, being slipstreamed by the McLarens, and yeah, Matt Webb is going to, Simon Harris is going to try and get involved in this, try and get those 2 places back. Actually decides to be safe on the brakes. The Porsche just about getting the car stopped, gets a little bump from the Mustang and being held up, allows Simon Harris to come back, and Matt Webb is going to try and follow through. It's going to be the outside into turn 3 for the McLarens. How much is Fuskin going to fight this? It's back up the inside. The McLaren hanging it the long way round and is given space by the Mustang, who relinquishes the position and drops down to P7. Matt Webb now trying to follow through. The splitter still scraping as we're getting our first hypercars. That's Alfie Bevan coming up onto this pack now to lap the GT3s for the first time. They'll pass on the left-hand side, or will they? The Porsche holding the left-hand side forces the Cadillac to go to the inside, and here comes the Ferrari of Blomqvist now, who's going to have a much more difficult time, and it's wide for one of the Cadillacs in the background. These GT3s fighting amongst themselves, going to prove to be a roadblock for the hypercars.
Yeah, this GT3 battle is unrelenting. It's going on for laps and laps, and there's so many opportunities as there's another yellow flag for Max Farrell in the hypercar field up ahead. These hypercars here lapping the G3s, really mixing things up as per usual. Obviously, there's 2 races going on. They all have to be respectful of each other on this circuit. The GT3s trying to get be opportunistic while this is all unfolding and sneak on by, but as per usual, it comes down to a drag race towards turn 1. Simon Harris leading the way from Matthias Fuskin still in this train.
Well, Ollie Knowles has broken away in 5th place, getting a second gap on this lot. Simon Harris now in front of Fuskin. Matt Webb, Trinket Tass, Apollo Grady have also closed in on this fight, with the hypercars getting involved, and Tom Watson isn't too far behind as well. So yeah, with these hypercars coming through, this is going to be quite chaotic. And look in the background, that is Jacob Hine in the Alpine having to defend from Sony Angel and Tyler Hammer. A 3-way hypercar fight is about to come up on a 6, nearly 7-car train in the GT3s through the long right-hander of 100R, down the inside of the McLaren GT3 car. They get through cleanly. Next they have the Ferrari of Trinket Tass that they'll go round the outside, then past the McLaren of Matt Webb. Then they have Fuskin and Simon Harris fighting, looking to the grass as the Mustang was thinking about a move on the McLaren that's defending into the side. Once again, inside the line for the McLaren as it defends, and it's side by side between the hypercars as they're trying to pass this lot. Nowhere to go. The Alpine stuck up behind the Mustang, and it's an opportunity for the Peugeot down the inside for Angel, and Alpine's been spun into the Peugeot, both of them facing the wrong way. Jacob Hine gets pointed the right way once again, and we'll get going, but disaster, as this is just so chaotic.
Yeah, and we're barely 10 minutes into the race. They've got to do this lapping, time after time, so they're going to have to learn to live with each other. Granted, a 6-7 way battle in the GT3 field, a 3-way in the hypercar field as Jacob Hine tries to recover against Sun Angel here, heading towards someone, tucks in a little bit for the slipstream. Again, looks inside, but look at the traffic ahead he's got to deal with. Where's he going to find room to get past?
It's about finding the space in track, trying not to get caught up too much. Just you have to have full concentration on your radar to see where everyone is. This is going to be so difficult for the drivers, and despite both Angel and Hine being spun, they're still fighting away. It's now for the final place in the top 10 as they're going round the outside of a Porsche that's stuck behind a Cadillac that's stuck behind one of the GT3 Porsches. Angel trying to look up the inside, didn't quite get done, but we'll get now with the acceleration on the exit, and all the hypercars will follow through. Hine, will they think about move into the right-hander here? No, not quite close enough. 4-car train in the hypercars. As we have, I think that's Simon Harris running wide. Down the inside goes Lindblom on Stevie. Yes, it is Simon Harris. Lindblom will get the move done for P11 on Stevie, and will now go chasing after Zach Silver, who now occupies final top 10 position. Angel and Hine getting up into 8th and 9th. Through all of this chaos.
Indeed. Everyone just, lap times at this point is irrelevant. It's how well can you manage that traffic, and it is something that you have to manage well. You can't just go barreling towards a pack of GT3 cars or expect hypercar to get by you, totally unscathed. Well, not unscathed, but you know what I mean? It's part of that whole racing thing. It isn't just about hot lapping. There's a little bit of lock up there for Steve Bennis. He tries to take a tighter line through turn, but another yellow flag for Max Farrell, who is deep into the GT field now as well. Really struggling. I mean, once those tyres have some torture, it gets worse and worse. There's a bit of contact between Stevie Bain and I believe Ben Brown, I'm going to say, in the GT3 field as he's trying to get past whilst also trying to keep up with Lindblom. There is also a yellow flag for Jacob Hind, who was deep off the track there. Let's have a quick peek at what happened there. He's really far off there.
Yeah, was spun off on the outside of turn 3. Has a good run, has the momentum on. Angel goes to the inside, committing to the move, and just contact then with the Peugeot spins them round for a second time in a couple of laps. We'll get going again. Luckily, he wasn't sliding for too long on those tires. Hopefully, hasn't damaged them too much. But we now cut to more side-by-side action. Stevie Bain trying to come back on Daniel Lindblom for now P9 after Hind's issues, as James Cowley has spun in the final sector here and is going to be dropping down the order. Simon Harris, I think, has also had an issue, dropping a couple of places behind Matt Webb and Ollie Knowles. There's a lot of changes for position here. Matt Webb, I think, has got involved, but yeah, contact here between the McLaren and the Mustang. But yeah, this final sector just giving us so much carnage as everyone is just bumper to bumper.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way, and I'm sure people are thinking, oh, maybe I can tactically pit and come out this traffic, but it's such a a long race from here, and there's so much of the traffic. It's pointless to pit now. If anything, it's better to stay out, accumulate those little bits of damage, and then decide later on if maybe you want to repair that or not. It says another yellow flag for Max Farrell, as well as a bit of calm now briefly. Dave Wood here chasing down that final podium spot on the back of Jack Lancaster, 5 tenths away, 4 tenths now, as well as he's getting ever closer to that Cadillac ahead. A little bit of a squirrely moment there for the Cadillac coming out that corner as well. The Ferrari's looking a lot more settled, a lot more confident and comfortable from there. There's also a car sideways. That's Nick Manders, one of the Ferraris I was just speaking of being comfortable, is sideways and now nowhere to be seen.
Has returned to the garage and is thus out of the race. I'm surprised the final corner isn't that high speed. I'm surprised they're out of the race from that contact. We'll get a replay of it here through the penultimate corner. Now heading towards final corner, they take wide entry through here, and then looks like a replay hasn't quite worked there. So I assume they just lost the rear end trying to pick up the throttle, and yeah, very unfortunate there for them.
Yeah, I think maybe he lost connection. What's because it's it might be a technical issue on my side or his side, but either way, it does seem out of the race. Matthias Fuskin, though, certainly in the race, barely 3 tenths off of P5 here in class, behind Simon Harris, behind James Cowley. Slipstream plenty as they go down the start finish. Just I was going to say shortening the track as much as possible, but it almost looks like he wanted to pit. He is pitching. Is James Cowley there?
I think he has more damage, I assume, coming into pit lane, because that wasn't a proper pit entry. He was onto the red painted tarmac, which isn't where you should be. So is that car crabbing? Does it look damaged? It's hard to tell from here.
It is indeed. I mean, it's not stopping yet. I dare say it's got a penalty of a drive-through, but we will have to wait and see. It looks like a penalty. Must have been.
That is very odd, because I don't think we've seen very few drive-through penalties this season so far. We're not even a third of the way through the race. So to take penalty this early is quite a surprise. We come back to the battle for P4 in the GT3. Matthias Fuskin still on the back of Simon Harris, fighting for P4. Trinket task just in the background, as Tom Watson here has had an issue. I think this is on the exit of the hairpin. Trying to see is getting back going again. Yeah, there is of the hairpin now coming towards the chicane. So a bit of an issue there. But one thing with all of the incidents that we've had, the field has spread out quite a bit, so it has.
Indeed, at least for now. 40 minutes to go, and there's still quite a pack of GT3 cars. In fact, this gap here is showing is... Okay, we'll ignore that. There is a pack of GT3 cars heading towards turn 1. McLaren goes to the outside. Mustang holding the inside here. Defending from Simon Harris. Obviously, he's compromising his exit slightly with that tighter run, but shouldn't matter too much. The Mustang rolls away, but the Ferrari in the background of Trinket Detached as well. Again, waiting for an opportunity, waiting for a moment to slip by tidily without getting caught up in any, long drawn-out battles. Similarly, Paul O'Grady's just behind. As well, with the hypercar now coming through to lap these guys. Maybe this is the chance Simon Harris and co have been waiting for. As again, there's a yellow flag for Max Farrell, unfortunately. Hypercar coming on by, and the Ferrari of Trinket actually just slips on by Simon Harris without too much trouble.
Yeah, Harris running wide, Ferrari seeing the opportunity and taking advantage of it, as they've got another hypercar, one of the yellow Cadillacs coming through into the right-hander here, compromising Trinket Detached a little bit, but Paul O'Grady now on the back of Simon Harris is going to be trying to get through onto this battle. But I'm just looking at the timing screen, and there have 3 quick GT3 drivers all running into issues this race, losing major positions, as we see up the inside for Simon Harris gets the move done on Paul O'Grady. Matt Webb is there as well. They're going to try and follow through. Is there a lap car involved? Trying to just work this out relative to the timing screen, and Matt Webb is behind this battle, behind Paul O'Grady, but I think, there's 3 of these black and orange McLarens. One of them is lapped. That's Matt Webb passing lap car, and we have an issue here for Stevie Bain, facing the wrong way through the fast right-hander here, is still behind Daniel Lindblom, blocks the rear tires coming into the right-hander, manages to save the car a little bit wide onto the curb, now into the penultimate corner. Looks neat and tidy over that curb, then just loses the rear, picking up the throttle, contact with the wall, and we'll pick up a bit of damage, not too much hopefully. Well, has lost, dropped down to 13th, but can carry on and hopefully try and make up some positions. We're not even halfway through this race, and it's been so chaotic, and there will certainly be more chaos to come in the second half. Maybe not quite as much as what we've seen, as the cars do spread out a little bit, but there's still quite a few cars that are not spread out and could cause issues for GT3s.
Indeed. Where Stevie also just dropped it there. We've seen car after car, time after time, drop it there. So it's clearly a difficult traction zone, trying to get the power down and get going again. But, just see cars having issues there, so maybe we'll see a more settled second half of drivers being a bit more wary of that corner in particular. Obviously, as the tyre wear goes on and maybe the fuel burns off in the car, maybe it's a bit more unstable. Charlie Morgan here chasing down Andy Hearn. Actually, there's a yellow flag for Elvin Blomqvist briefly. Possibly it might be my timer screen falsely claiming that. We'll ignore that.
Tom Watson is off. Just seen him on the right-hand side there on the exit of T1. I think he's having technical issues of some sort. Unfortunately, it seems like it's going to be a little bit of troubleshooting, trying to resolve what issues they have. You see they're driving a little bit, stopping again as they continue to solve whatever issues, and now they've just returned to garage. So, unfortunate for Tom Watson, there will be our second retirement of the race after Nick Manders, and actually Leon Vesparez is also retired, so our third retirement, from...
Indeed. Max Farrell keeping going though, despite any of the yellow flag incidents he may be having. But Charlie Morgan, still chasing down Andy Hearn within touching distance now as they lap the 296 there in the other class, obviously helping Charlie close up to Andy ever so slightly. Another yellow flag there for James Cowley, I believe, if that's true. Maybe Matt Webb actually, he's dropping down the order instead. More GT3 cars to lap. It's such a struggle there, and you could be so bold and try and go off the track slightly to get past them, but it's a big risk.
Yeah, we've just had an incident. Max Farrell's trying to recover, and it's actually just been tagged by a Ferrari as they were trying to recover from spin out of the final corner. Try and get a replay of it here, but replay does not seem to be cooperating. We see, yeah, they're just trying to recover here on the runoff, which they have finally done so. By the way, they are still yet to pass Nick Manders, who retired a couple of laps ago. That's how how much of a struggle this race has been for Max Farrell. And yeah, they've got significant damage. It's going to be another trip through pit lane for them.
Yeah, some major damage in that Porsche there. They seem to look really good, the Porsches, but they seem to be struggling here tonight, unfortunately. Charlie Morgan not struggling, still chasing down Andy, but this time he's got Dave Spiller joining him there in the background. We can see approaching also, and yeah, an 8/10 back is Dave Spiller though. Yeah, not as close as he'd like, and not something that Charlie has to worry about for now. But for Toy here with an issue, I did briefly think that popped up briefly, nearly avoided it, but did have an issue there. I'm not quite sure what that is, unfortunately, but recovered again now. I mentioned the Peugeots, how I thought they'd do well tonight. I've clearly I got that absolutely wrong, it seems.
Yeah, Angel is up into 7th place, 1 place down from where they qualified this race. And we see a McLaren off. That's Simon Harris recovering. Has just led a whole load of GT3s past, losing 3 or 4 places there from that mistake. So yeah, costly mistake from Simon Harris. Don't think they've made any contact with a wall. Maybe might have had a bit of contact with another car, so hopefully he doesn't have too much damages here. Jared Page also recovering from 15th in that GT3 field last, where GT3 still running. And Sony Angel in the Peugeot trying to get past Dan Tomlinson, really outbreaking themselves into T1, taking a trip across the gravel, and that was, I believe, Stevie Bain unlapping themselves, but we'll get a replay of this. Coming down in T1, big slipstream, big momentum here from the Peugeot. Looks to the outside, the Cadillac still on the inside. See Stevie coming out of the pits. Yes, Angels just missed their braking point. Cadillacs also slightly missed their braking point, locking up a bit into T1. But they managed to keep it on the road and hold on to P6 for now.
Indeed, another car with an issue. Matt Webb here missing a wing, though. Unfortunately, that is going to be a struggle to get back to the pits as well. Really, many cars having issues. Oh, that's a big issue there with the wing. Clearly, I think that's outside of turn 1 as well, so might have a long way to go to get
100R.
Oh, 100R even.
Turn 4 and 5, it's actually classed as 2 corners. But yeah, this is going to be very costly for Matt Webb. Qualified on pole for GT3s, but yeah, safe to say, I imagine it's very disappointed with how this race has gone so far. It's missing the rear wing. I think the tires are well out of alignment too, which just means you see can't even drive the car in a straight line. That's just how much of a struggle it's gonna take. So yeah, the car just doesn't even want to drive in a straight line, and I could definitely see Matt Webb sort of maybe just parking the car like, yeah, I don't deem this safe to drive back, you know, without getting in someone's way, you know, or potentially causing another incident. They're going to try, as our rules do require that drivers do attempt to do so. But yeah, there is, I would say, an argument there to be made that, yeah, that car's not drivable. We come now to Charlie Morgan. Still trying to chase down Andy Hart for the final top 10 position. Has closed up half a second now. Of course, Charlie was the last car, did qualify P10, so has, you could say, a bit of a difficult race, given that they've fallen out of the top 10 with all the issues everyone else has had. As the cars get past Matt Webb, who has finally given up on the struggle to bring the car home, which, yeah, fair enough. It was just undrivable, but we also have Sony Angel onto the back of Dan Tomlinson once again. Going to try and have another crack here at P6.
Indeed, yet again coming down the start finish, yet again lapping some GT3 traffic. The Peugeot getting on by before the break instead of turn 1. got another Mustang to deal with as well. Plenty of time though, it seems, but all adding up the slipstream, all adding up for an opportunity perhaps for Son to get past again. Here we are, turn 1. This time no one going deep, no lockups. Going round, trying to hold around the outside of the Peugeot, but defending and staying in P6 for now is Dunn Tomlinson. At least you don't have any GT3 cars to deal with for now, and at least there's not a spinning McLaren up ahead either to deal with. Peugeot certainly is putting the pressure on. It does seem to catch up by the time they get to turn 1, but just that the Cadillac just has that edge and is able to defend and keep the Peugeot away. But this might be a case as well where, you know, half a second or whatever it is in the pit stop difference could be enough to jump that position there.
Something I've also just noticed on the timing screen, the lead for GT3, it was pretty comfortable earlier for Johnny Ash. It's now only 6 tenths. I feel like something has happened to Johnny. Unfortunately, he didn't see when or if something has. But yeah, Athol Basker closed up 1 second last lap on the leading Mustang and continuing to close in. So, could Johnny potentially be losing the lead here as they're going for their 3rd win of the series?
Indeed, we see Johnny there trying to get out the corner as quick as he can. As the snap at the rear of the car as Tyler Hammock moves up to 4th in the hypercar class as well. Going down the straight, the Mustang, despite that little snap there, clearly is pulling away, or at least he was at the beginning of the straight. Athol, not able to take advantage of the slipstream as much as he wants, and the gap is just growing and growing as I head towards turn 1. Maybe this is all the Mustang needs to do, is just drive away down this start-finish straight, and that's enough to keep him ahead, at least for now. But, you know, as you rightly said, the McLaren here came out of nowhere, caught up to the Mustang, maybe caught him napping and being a bit too complacent, perhaps, at leading the field.
Another 4 tenths gained last lap for Basker as the gap continues to close. Maybe a question of tyre saving. You know, has Johnny just been taking care with the tyres, not pushing too hard through corners like this 100R, where you're really punishing that front left tyre? Which is going to be the limiting tyre for this race. It is going to degrade, it is going to go off, and you're going to lose performance from it. I did notice from the hypercar field, Jack Lancaster, who was up in P3, as Basker getting a tap from the hypercar as they passed. I believe that was Andy Hearn, who has been passed by Charlie Morgan. For now P9, and Andy's still in P10. Got Dave Spiller right behind them. We can see this battle navigating through the lead GT3s. Johnny Ashley probably getting very anxious, not wanting any issues as they're being chased down for the lead. But Johnny, with that, has actually pulled out a bit of a gap this lap. Gap's opened up to over a second. But yeah, we cut back now to the I was going to say last of our last of our hypercars running. Max Farrell has now retired from the race, so 15 hypercars still running. Jacob Hine in 15th is going to try and demote Stevie B into last place right in front of them, as these two are also behind the battle for P5 in the hypercar field between Dan Tomlinson and Son Angel.
Indeed. Son Angel here just ahead in that Peugeot. 3 tenths within Tam Thompson. These two still fighting, still lapping GT3 traffic, which is going to be a constant throughout this race. A little bit of a slide there from the Cadillac just ahead, and that's given the incentive to Son Angel there just to gain a burst of speed and get on by alongside both these drivers, making critical mistakes here, maybe struggling with the pressure certainly, and they go on to the start finish straight yet again. The Peugeot, a little bit of a tighter exit there, a little bit of a tidier run in the slipstream of the Cadillac, heading down the start finish, almost pushing him down the straight here, switches to the outside, drives on by with a slingshot there, heading towards turn 1. Still a fair bit of overlap though between the Cadillac and the Peugeot as they get on towards the braking zone. Sweeping around the outside now, the Peugeot trying to just edge ahead enough to claim that spot. As it looks like he's done enough for now, and the Cadillac is left behind to deal with a Porsche they're lapping. Or is that Jack Lancaster? Nope. Well,
as they head through 100R, Angel up to 5th place now. We have seen a pit stop from Lancaster, remember, so they are set to, they are the only hypercar within the top 12 to have made their pit stop, let's say, for the race yet. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Their stop time, by the way, if you were wondering, 5.8 seconds, so that seems to be a splash and dash, but maybe taking it to get free. Our issue here for Fuji running slowly out of the final corner. I wonder if they've had more traction issues, as we've seen from a few people so far, trying to look to the inside of a BMW, and yeah, that's when the traction catches you out, bonk on the inside barrier. But yeah, it's always when you're having to go round another car, you're taking a line that you're not used to, that's when you get caught out with a mistake. Dave Wood now coming into the pits from P3.
Indeed, and it's about that point in time in the race, I think. Let's look at some of the energy remaining. Maybe let's get an idea of what the strategy could look like for most of these guys. I mean, they all look like they've managed it pretty well, to be honest. Good chunk of change left in their virtual energy stores for now. No one looks too different from the rest, so I think it's probably all just going to be a one-stop. Oh.
My biggest concern there is Lancaster, who has pitted, but doesn't have any more energy than anyone else. What was he in the pits for? Was it to repair damage? It's because, you know, he does have a stop time of 5.8 seconds. So yeah, very odd there. As they will have to come through pit lane once more. But another thing, I don't know if we can look at this. I wonder if we can look at the tyres, because as mentioned earlier in qualifying, the drivers do have the hard tyres that they can use. And yes, we can see here a number of drivers have got hard tyres. Now you're probably wondering, why are you saying hard and medium tyres? If you're new to the Mod Ultimate, you are not restricted to running one single compound on all 4 tyres. You can run, if you want to, 4 different compounds. You could have a soft on the front left, medium front right, hard rear left, and a wet on the rear right if you wanted to. There's no limit. So what you see some drivers doing here is they have hard tyres on the front and mediums on the rear. As we see Jacob Hine trying to unlap themselves. An issue here for Dave Wood, having just made a pit stop in the final sector. We'll come back to the tire talk in a moment, but has a little wiggle there. Is coming up on a GT3 fry, but isn't quite close enough yet. Coming through this long left-hander. The Ferrari defends the inside, and that's what catches Dave out. Yeah, defense from the Ferrari. We shouldn't be seeing the GT3s defending from the hypercars, but yeah, the GT3 making it awkward and causing Dave to make a mistake.
Yeah, that's not something you see too often either. Maybe I mean, we've had talks in the Discord and things like that where, you know, hypercars being kind of respectful and G3s being respectful. It goes both ways, but ultimately one class shouldn't be defending from the other class, regardless of if you're faster or slower, unfortunately. But yeah, Dave Wood recovering now. Typically he has been having a good season, has David, now down to 11th. Does have a fair chunk of pace. I mean, the best lap, 25.3. I mean, if we look the next 5 drivers ahead of him, clearly over a second quicker on their best lap. So, you know, there's time yet to recover. We just have to hope his tyres aren't in too much of a different state compared to those around him.
Yeah, Dave, 2 podiums so far this season, a 3rd and a 2nd last time out at Imola. Doesn't look like he'll be adding another one to that total, unfortunately. But yeah, we'll carry on. As I said, it's so difficult for the GT3s and hypercars around here. You've got quite a few corners where the racing line just is all over the track. It's from left to right, right to left. And that makes it so difficult for the GT3s to know what side of the track they should stay on, and then for the hypercars to try and predict where the GT3s are going to go. One thing, and what makes it even more difficult, is when you've got situations like this battle for the lead in GT3 that Basker is closed back up on. You know, you just have cars doing things you don't expect them to do, and it makes it almost impossible for him. So yeah, we've seen those difficulties for the hypercars trying to pass the GT3s. And yeah, I'm sure we will see more a defense from Johnny Ash, the McLaren, trying to look to the outside, going for a cutback, trying to get the better traction down out of the hairpin, which they do so. They've got a little bit of a run. Johnny Ash is going to defend the inside towards turn 3, comes back to the racing line as they enter. And the McLaren is certainly on the rear bumper, just looking for the opening round 100R. Who's going to round a little bit more speed here? Johnny just carrying the momentum, pushing the tyre a little bit more into the hairpin. That gives them just enough breathing space. They're also coming up onto a McLaren that they will be lapping. That is going to be trying to see, can't tell what McLaren that is, but they get past anyway. Now into the right-hander, they have a hypercar, one of the Porsche hypercars. I think that might be Andy Hearn. Is that Jared Page that they were lapping, who is down in 13th place, and I believe might be the last of our is our penultimate GT3 still running. But Andy Hearn looking to the inside now is going to just take the apex away from the Mustang, but the McLaren doesn't get any better of a run. It's got behind the hypercar Porsche and ends up running a little bit wide as they come on to the start-finish straight. In the slipstream for the McLaren, but seems like that Mustang just has a little bit more straight line speed. Maybe Johnny running a little less swing. Here comes a blue Cadillac who will have to get the move done in the braking zone here on the Mustang. I can annoy Johnny just a little bit. The McLaren late on the brakes just about gets the car slowed down in time. Johnny's going to get compromised here from the Cadillac, just making a little mistake through turn 1. Down towards turn 3, the McLaren looking to the outside. Are they going to brave it a long way around? No, they back out and tuck back into line as they continue to put pressure on Johnny Ash, going for their 3rd win of the season.
Indeed, still 20 minutes to go. It feels like these two have been fighting for so long and they've still got to pit, and that's going to be crucial, very much so. And you know, with most of the field yet to pit, you know, it's going to be busy when everyone decides to do it on the same lap. We see Peugeot here lapping these two as well. No trouble there getting on by, leaving these two on their own. Dave Wood overtaking Dave Spiller as well, I'm seeing on the timing board here. Dave Spiller, I think, is in the pits. Indeed he is, hence why he's now dropping down the order. Pit time as well, the stop time is fairly varied, so maybe a mix of strategy with fuel, or maybe people repairing a different amount of damage. Jack Lancaster, as you said, quickest in the pit stop, 5.8 seconds. You do have to wonder if he's going to have to stop again, as you pointed out, with Virtual Energy pretty much the same as the rest of the field who haven't stopped, so might have made a mistake there. The next quickest pit stop is 12.5 seconds by Zach Silver, so if we have a look at his Virtual Energy, maybe get an idea of how much perhaps we should be having. 35%. That's a good chunk left for 19 minutes to go, and yeah, fairly quick stop as well. As
interesting.
Sorry.
It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. We might have a move for the lead in GT3, but they're being passed by quite a few hypercars at the moment, which certainly had an influence through the final sector. The Mustang slightly tighter on the exit of the first corner, having to compromise for the red Cadillac, and the McLaren all over the back, looking to the inside, doesn't commit to a move, but maybe just unsettling. The Mustang sliding a little bit through turn 3, the McLaren running a little bit wide onto the curb. But yeah, these drivers still pushing at it. McLaren not finding a way through just yet. But I imagine both of these drivers are a bit frustrated with the hypercars coming through as they're trying to have their own battle. Not because anyone's really doing anything wrong. That's just how difficult it is around here. And maybe we could talk about a lap and just talk through the difficulties of trying to pass as the GT3 round here. You know, just talk about how the racing line goes from part of the track. So yeah, let's try and go on board and we'll start off with the start-finish line, because while the start-finish straight very long here does give a good opportunity to get past GT3 cars, you don't always catch them on the straight. You hope you do. You really hope that you do, but you don't always. Johnny pulling to the inside here. Johnny is not coming into the pit. He's just wanting to break the slipstream. The McLaren maybe not being so aggressive to go for the slipstream, thinking that the Mustang was going to pit. But coming to T1, easiest point, as we say, of the track to pass a GT3 if you're a hypercar into T1 Apex. Fairly simple corner. Turn 2 here, this little right-hand kink, that makes it a bit difficult. You see the racing line just in the middle of the track. It makes you question as a hypercar. Do you go to the left? Do you go to the right? Creates a bit of uncertainty. Turn 3, you've just got to be cautious. You've got to wait. Turn 4, hypercars can bring it round the outside here as long as the GT3s keep to a tight line. But you see here through the exit, they come into the middle of the track once again, and then back to the right-hand side for braking. Again, where do you go as the hypercar? On the exit here, you'll see some different lines. Both these GT3s running a wide line. Some people hold a tighter line. And then towards the hairpin, right, left, right again, back to the left. How on earth do you decide which side you're going to pass? Down towards what would normally be the chicane, and then here through the final sector. Sometimes it seems like, oh yeah, the gaps are on the inside, and you want to go for the gap on the inside as on the GT3s. Here again, you know, inside line looks very open, very much for invitation. We're going to say here for the final corner again, very inviting, but that can be a dangerous, a risky move for a hypercar. And we have seen contact from hypercars going for a couple of those moves throughout the race. But yeah, that is a lap of Fuji, and just how difficult it can be to lap a GT3 when in the hypercar. Especially when they're 4 or 5 cars deep, like what we've seen 10 minutes into the race when they were first lapping the GT3s.
Indeed, and luckily that lap was unhindered as well, so no hypercars to mess around with in that lap as more and more drivers decide to pit now. We've got Charlie Morgan going into the pits as well. Jack Langster, the highest of the order to have stopped, but again we think with his vertical energy being low really, we'll probably have to stop again. 15 minutes to go then. We've got this battle here. We've also got Stevie Bain as well, lingering around Dave Spiller, trying to get P13 away there. We've got obviously Jacob Hine just behind him there in the background, just under a second now in the Alpine, trying to recover as well. Down 7 places, unfortunately, from the start. And actually, Stevie Bain spinning, losing the rear, avoiding the wall, luckily, and almost doing a spin turn and getting going again, as we see just a bunch of GT3 traffic going on by.
That car down the middle of Ryan Davies and Dean Smith, who are fighting over P11. Stevie Bain tries to replicate it. Wasn't as dicey that time, but yeah, we've seen a few moments throughout the season. Stevie did one at Interlagos as these GT3s banging wheels in the braking zone for T1. Dean Smith braking a little bit early, maybe not wanting to be part of this battle, risking that, just wants to, like, right, you're quicker, you go on by, but don't ruin my race, please. As we cut to Daniel Lindblom trying to catch Dan Tomlinson, both in red Cadillacs. Try not to confuse these two.
Indeed, and a little lock up there for Lindblom there in the red Cadillac, which is superfluous. They're both red, as you were saying. It's funny, we mentioned this I think in previous weeks. I can't remember if it was on stream. But, yeah, we had at the beginning of the series everyone in the yellow Cadillacs. We mentioned it, and some people said, "Oh, would it be helpful if you went into the red Cadillac?" As a major snap there for Lindblom, manages to hold on to it luckily, and the background there, Porsche almost joining him as well. Keeps going now, but drops off the back of Tomlinson, and with some worse for wear tyres as well. Yeah, some drivers mentioned, would it be helpful if they were in the red Cadillac, and then everybody seemingly went to the red, so completely nullified that advantage for us as commentators. Lindblom here now finds himself behind the GT3 car as well. Will get going past him, but not where he wants to be as he enters the start-finish straight, really. Yeah,
I think we went around where there were no yellow Cadillacs, and it's like, oh well, can one or two if you just go back? It's a little difficult to coordinate between everyone, but it does not make it any easier with the similar names as well. We've got to Jacob Hine, who's coming up to the back of Dave Spiller for 13th place now. Jacob was running well earlier, has not made a pit stop according to my time on the screen. So yeah, it has difficult race. I think Jacob has had a couple of incidents that have slowed them down, but we also have a battle forming for P3 as well. As we see Jack Lancaster trying to chase down Tyler Hammer, encountering traffic just past an Aston Martin GT3, has, I believe, Andy Hearn right in front of them that they're going to try and get past. And this is lapping within the same class, which obviously works a little bit differently than the multi-class situations. You know, Andy Hearn doesn't have to, you know, does have to sort of help. Well, so I'm wording this incorrectly. Andy Hearn doesn't have to move out of the way of Jack Lancaster, but once Lancaster does try and initiate an overtake, Andy Hearn does have to sort of facilitate that overtake once it has been initiated. But it looks like Andy Hearn just lifting on the straight, as they usually do, one of the generous drivers when it comes to being passed by the faster classes. We see more cars coming into the pits as we're nearing the final 10 minutes. Sony Angel as well as Paul O'Grady.
Indeed, and you mentioned lifting on the straights. A really quick stop, by the way, there from the Peugeot. 9 seconds stopped on his way again now, out again. Let's see what his virtual energy is like once he's completely out of the pits. But yeah, if anything, lifting on the straights to let another car by will help you, you know, in LMU with saving fuels and saving virtual energy and all that good stuff. So Nigel out the pits, just not just ahead Dave Wood. Sorry, it is Dave Wood there. Timing screen took a moment to update. That is Dave Wood. So crucially, just ahead, maintains that track position where he doesn't have to overtake Dave, who had stopped as well. So actually, Dave doing a rather good job on his recovery drive. If you think Sun Angel is the benchmark for where was he before he stopped? For that, Dave Wood, regardless, has caught up, and actually with Son going wide, Dave Wood has slipped on by up to P6.
Yeah, they'll lock up there for Angel, running them in deep. They're maybe going to think they've got the run here towards the right-hander, but they're not going to go for an overtake. Very risky, you know. The right-hander being quite quick, has a short braking zone, but is still putting the pressure on here through into the final sector. Of course, Angel was very competitive at the start of the season, won the first race at Monza. So will be interesting to see, you know, we've seen the straight line speed of that old Peugeot without the wing. Will it maybe let them come back down towards T1, compromised by a GT3 Ferrari of Trinket de Tas out of the final corner. In the slipstream now, Angel closing up already. I think they will get alongside for T1. Dave Wood not offering a defense, and it'll be a battle on the brakes. GT3 coming out of the pits just to make things a little more interesting, and they're coming up on Ollie Knowles as well. Dave Wood a little deep on the brakes, runs wide, and that's going to be Angel back up into P5, defending that position off for now.
Indeed, for now. Anyway, Sun Angel goes wide off the track, giving Dave maybe another chance to come back. Crucial, so many little mistakes here from the drivers, but it's one of those things where a little mistake adds up really quickly. As again, a little bit of a moment there. Charlie Morgan showing his yellow flag as well. Actually, briefly stopped as Charlie Morgan. Let's have a quick peek at that.
Coming out of the final corner onto the start-finish straight. Here we go into the final corner. Is this going to be Sam just not having the traction, looping the car around? Yeah, there it is. Car just disappears in the middle of the corner when they're trying to pick up the throttle. But we cut to side by side with Stevie being now and Charlie Morgan. Stevie defending the position and has fended off Charlie Morgan for now as they come towards turn 3. They've got McLaren GT3 that they're coming up on. Charlie Morgan not going to get moved on the inside, but a lock up for Stevie. Compromises and runs him wide onto the curb. Charlie Morgan swoops around the outside of 100R and will get the move done as Stevie has to wait behind the GT3 for a moment and then can pass. A little lock up for Morgan though might bring Stevie back into this as they complete the lap.
Indeed, and we're just seeing there on the virtual energy board, Jack Lancaster, who's just started another lap, by the way, has indeed only got 2% virtual energy, so it must be stopping and must be really lifting and coasting his way around this lap, to be honest. It's going to be tricky with the amount of corners, to be honest. Tyler Hammer also showing as 2%, although that Lancaster's just stopped data, and so is Tyler Hammond there, so that's interesting. That's really annoying because he hasn't stopped recently, so I don't know why it's decided to suddenly update. Moving
Just
on.
fun quirks that
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to get used to. But it's side by side once again down the start-finish straight. Stevie seems to have the straight line speed advantage, pulling clear of the BMW, which will slot back into the slipstream. Can they come on and counter-attack as they head into T1? Will they think about a move on the brakes? No, they're just going to follow for now. Nearly running into the back of Stevie, but just about avoiding the Porsche. They'll wide for Stevie on the exit. You can see how that compromises their momentum. Charlie trying to come back. It's going to be the outside for turn 3. Are they going to try and repeat what they did last lap? But there isn't a GT3 to help them by this time. We also have a battle for P4 now. Angel is up the inside of Tyler Hammer for P4 in the hypercars class. We'll get the car slowed down. The Cadillac trying to go for a cutback, but the Peugeot's just parked the car tight enough to fend that off. And the Ferrari of Dave Wood in the background is also going to try and get into this mix. Angel and Hammer, as they stand 4th and 5th, up 2 places from where they qualified. Dave Wood is down 1 place. So, yeah, Dave Wood is really going to want to try and pass these cars. He's going to think that they have a little bit more momentum as we catch up to a couple, a Mustang and a GT3, and that is Johnny Ash, but the McLaren is not Basker. Johnny now has 4.5-second lead in front of Basker, so that sort of lead between the pit stops has opened up in Johnny's favour. That was Jared Page. Yes, Jared Page. Paulo Grady has just made a move on Matthias Fuskin for P6 in the GT3 field. See them now coming into turn 3. Got that move done on the start-finish straight. And Trinket Tass is now side by side with Ollie Knowles as they come down towards the chicane with the momentum in the Ferrari. Trinket Tass is going to take P4 in the GT3 field. Ollie Knowles will have to sell for P5, but still up 5 places from where they started. Ollie Knowles, they're having a good race. Ben Brown up 6 places in 3rd. Final podium position, has had a good race themselves. So yeah, we'll have to... There's going to be a lot for us to recap at the end of this race, because a lot has happened, and we certainly... things just under 5 minutes to go. I think still a lot of things can change around. As for Toy, I think has just retired, having had an incident. That's the replay here for the Peugeot coming up to turn 3.
Indeed, and I'm going to say it's another disconnect. We've had a couple. There was a Nick confirming in Discord his issue was indeed a disconnect, so another driver maybe having a similar issue there. Unfortunately, another Peugeot bites the dust. And speaking of the Peugeot, by the way, I was looking at the stats. Sun Angel in that wingless Peugeot, 324, let's say, for all good intensive purposes, as a yellow flag for Yellow Page, who stopped in the middle of the circuit as well, facing the wrong way. Gonna have to be patient and wait for everyone to get past, and gets off the circuit to be able to right himself again and gets on his way without incident. But yeah, Peugeot 324 in the speed trap, KPH that is. Tyler Hammer behind him, 317. Jack Lancaster ahead of him, 320. So that just shows you the difference, the top speed that Peugeot has, and how much of an advantage it's going to have down the straight. But similarly, you have to be thinking, how much extra fuel is it going to be using?
Potentially, that could be the case. So the virtual energy is sort of meant to balance that out. Of course, one of the balance of performance components, but we've still got this 3-way fight. Angel actually locking up into T1. You have all that extra speed into T1. You still have to scrub it off. A little bit more difficult for the Peugeot, and it drops 1 place down to P5. Tyler Hammer now taking P4, though Angel, I imagine, won't be done with just over 3 minutes to go. They're going to try and retake P4 here, but we'll have Dave Wood pressuring them, trying to get past both of these drivers in these final few laps.
Indeed, and with all our hypercars having stopped as well, this will be the race to the end now. Dave Wood also keeping an eye on this battle. 2/10 to Sun Angel in that Ferrari. He's going to have to put some pressure on the Peugeot there before he can scarper away and chase up to Tyler Hammer again. As they come around the final corner, the Peugeot is going to be slipstreamless. I said final corner, I was totally wrong. Heading up towards through sector 3, let's say. as they lap GT3 traffic. And actually, GT3 traffic getting more than just in the way there with Dave Wood. The Porsche coming across, maybe drifting out wide. I'm not entirely sure. Dave Wood dropping back, picking up some damage as well because of it, as they now are on the start-finish straight. And Sun Angel is obviously nowhere to be seen. And actually, he is to be seen on the back of Tyler Hammer as they go towards turn 1. Yet again, Ashley still leading the way in GT3. Bevan, obviously 13-second gap in the hypercar field going through turn 1. No attacks yet from Sun Angel. With 2 minutes to go, he's got to be building up the momentum to try and get that P4 before the end of the race. The only other battle we've got is also Charlie Morgan on the back of Stevie Bain again. These two have seemed to be together a lot throughout this series, sticking back as he tags a GT3 car as he tries to lap him there and drops back from Stevie Bain a couple of seconds as well because of it, perhaps, and slides around that corner for good measure.
I know we've been trying to do the final classification before the server has closed down. I'm telling you now, that's not happening tonight. There's way too much to try and recap. But yeah, we still have a bit of action, a bit of lap traffic, just opening these gaps up for now. So maybe the final opportunities have just disappeared, but you never know with traffic. It has given us these gaps. It may take them away, but we'll have to see for the final lap. Dave Wood causing a yellow flag at the hairpin has made a mistake, and so will not be making up any more positions. Luckily for them, they have enough of a gap. Ben Brown has got up to P2. I think Basker is having to energy save. Their last lap, 1:45.2. Johnny Ashley's last lap was a 39. That is 6 seconds off the pace for Basker. I thought initially they were going a little bit slow because of traffic, but it seems like Basker has energy problems. They are lifting.
Really are lifting massively close towards this corner. 4 seconds, 5 seconds slower last lap was Basker than really the average for the field. That gave Ben Brown the opportunity to slip on by without issue. Basker is now in the position, really, as a tag there from the car behind. Yeah, Basker's really in the position where he's unable to defend from anyone if they are able to catch up. When the race has gone to 0 minutes, though, this is the final lap at least. But yeah,
Alfie Bevan has crossed the line, so they will need one more lap. Alfie Bevan just going into T3 now, so you are aware. So it'll be one more lap for Basker, which they're not even accelerating at this point. I think they're hoping that they're on the final lap and they're just coasting to the line. They're going to be in for a rude awakening when they see there is one more lap. I think they've realized they're trying to get to pit lane now, or maybe not pit lane, maybe they're just coasting to the line still. They're going to get a rude awakening when they find out this isn't the final lap. Trink Tatas has taken P3 now, and that they haven't. They are going to wait here before the line. They think it is better for them to wait for the leader and then cross the line.
Yeah, that's an interesting strategy. I mean, he's going to lose place after place. We can see him now down P6 in class. Ollie Knowles is obviously coming around to catch up and get that position back as there's a Cadillac briefly going wide at the final corner. I mean, a car stopped in the start-finish straight. It's not something you want to see when you're coming down the this straight side by side with cars, perhaps, or lapping. I mean, the pits are right there. It surely would have been quicker to drop in, 3 seconds stop and get going again. If not quicker, at least safer.
Thing is, you would have completed one more lap, which really helps when it comes to final classification. I'd say a bit of a blunder there from Baskers. They're just going to lose more positions. But Alfie Bevan, dominant win from pole, lights to flag victory. Well, actually did get past by Blomqvist at the start, but retook the lead and dominated this race ever since. Oh boy, Andy Hearn picking up 10th place. Well done, Andy. Taking the final top 10 position. Dave Wood has got up to back to Sun Angel. So Angel having issues on this final lap, perhaps. They've dropped 6 seconds off of Tyler Hammer, maybe giving Dave just a little bit of hope. It's really on the cuff of energy. We are not quite getting a live update, so they might have to lift and coast. So the last thing they want to do is run out, as it's a 100-second stop and go penalty. That adds up to like over 2 minutes. They do have 0-0, so but I didn't see any penalty come up for them. So I think Angel has just managed to hold on to P5 very tight on energy at the end. Zach Silver is going to be coming across the line for P9 here. We'll go through the order in a minute, because this race has been hectic and it has certainly been impossible to keep up with everything.
Yeah, certainly has been. We'll wait for the drivers to indeed cross the line. Oh, what a race! It's been different. Usually we see strategy mixing things up, but this has been more than usual. I think with the traffic, it's just been kind of full on constantly. We saw early in the race just non-stop battles. We saw that 7-way, 6-way GT3 field being lapped by the 3-way battle in the hypercar class. Incredible stuff. Let's see if we've got the complete classification. Indeed we do. Let's go ahead with that.
Well, Alfie Bevan again dominating from pole position, taking the win. Alvin Blomqvist with a good start, improves from 3rd to 2nd, getting in front of Lancaster, who I think might be a little bit disappointed falling to 3rd, but does hold on to the podium. Tyler Hammer will move up 3 positions from 7th to 4th, with Angel moving up 1 up to 5th, in front of Dave Wood, who dropped to P6. Might be a little bit disappointed for them. Dan Tomlinson will take P7 up 5 places, qualifying P12, and Dan Tomlinson up 6 places from 14th to finish P8. Zach Silver as well will be up 4 places from 13th on the grid to finish P9, and Andy Hearn up 7 places to get into the top 10. Dave Spiller will be the last of the cars taking advantage, up 4 places from 15th to 11th, with those having issues being Jacob Hine taking P12, Charlie Morgan 13th, Stevie being 14th, for Toy taking 15th, Nick Manders finishing in 16th, for Toy and Nick Manders having a couple of connection issues, but did get to finish the race. Max Farrell really struggling today, our only DNF within the hypercar class. Johnny Ash will make back-to-back wins, 3rd win for the season, in front of Ben Brown, who gained 7 places from where they qualified. So really good race there for Ben Brown to get 2nd. Trinkitas will be up 4 places to get 3rd, as well as Paul O'Grady up 4 places as well to take 4th. Fuskin gained a place for P5, and Ollie Knowles, another driver, gaining 4 places up to P6. The first disappointment will be Athol Basker running out of energy at the end, costing them a chance at victory, and a certain P2 finishing P7. Simon Harris up 3 places to take P8. Ben Myatt running without issues, up 6 places to take P9. And Frank Vivek up 4 places to take final top 10 place. Final points paying position to 10th place. So yeah, good races from them. Ryan Davies gained 2 places, but just misses out on points with P11. Dean Smith and Jar Page making up places, as we'd had a few retirements. James Cowley did not finish, 20 laps down in 14th. Matt Webb on pole position for this race, and James Cowley was P4, so 2 very strong drivers not finishing this race, unfortunately. Tom Watson also DNFing, as well as Leon Vesparis, who was 3rd on the grid. That's 3 of the top 4 qualifiers in GT3 did not finish this race. So yeah, it shows you, and that's what's helped Ben Brown and such to those great positions. Yeah, certainly around where some people have taken advantage of others' disappointment.
Indeed. And let's put this screen on. There we go. Let's have a look at the standings as well, as I should have actually been updating that in the background and forgot. Obviously, Cowley, who was leading in the GT3 field, as you were saying, not there tonight. There are 2 drop rounds though as well, right? We have got 2 drop rounds, or is it just 1? 2.
Yes,
so
2 drop rounds.
So that's obviously going to help as well.
Yes, so as remember, 2 drop rounds for the season, as we had 2 DLC tracks. So those that don't have DLC tracks can still have 6-point scoring rounds, but they don't have any flexibility on what will be their dropped rounds. They will be the 2 races they miss for not having DLC. But yeah, for like drivers like Kylie, Matt Webb, Vesparas, disappointing. They are going to need that. And Kylie has already missed 2 races. So that is 1 round. They have scored 0 points guaranteed by the end of this series. They do have, out of the 3 rounds that they have scored points in this season, they've been all victories. So Kylie is still going to be quite strong in the championship, but Johnny Ashley will be taking that lead, also having 3 victories, but then having a 3rd place and a 5th place to back it up. Dropping a 5th and a 7th, but having a 3rd place to back up their 3 victories so far. And yeah, this is the updated standings we have now. Let's start off with the hypercars. Elvin Blomqvist is leading the way, having had 2 victories in this season so far and 2 2nd places. Alfie Bevan has 3 victories, but a P6 means they're only in 2nd place. But only 4 points behind. The series could go any way between them 2. Angel will take 3rd place, having had 1 victory and a 2nd podium, as well as 2 4th places so far. Tyler Hammer 5th, 6 points off of Angel, so has had 3 podiums and a 4th. So that could be a good fight between Hammer and Angel for the rest of the series. And Dave Wood, with 2 podiums so far this season, will take the final top 5 place. In the GT3 class, as mentioned, Johnny Ash with their 3rd victory will take the lead, 23 points in front of James Cowley, who also has 3 wins to their name. Trinket Tass will be best of the rest with 3 podiums to their name, with 95 points. Matt Webb, after their DNF today, is down on 77 points. 3 podiums for them so far this season. They're still yet to get their first victory, which I'm sure they will really want next time out. And Ben Brown, with that very lucky 2nd place, but very good drive nevertheless, will take 5th place, their first podium of the series, ending with 69 points. So, 6 rounds in, 2 to go. Next time, we are heading to the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, a circuit we all know very, very well. Plenty of races, a number of 24-hour races there on ACC. But how will drivers fare with it here on LMU? That is the question.
Certainly, yeah, definitely a track that the drivers are more familiar with, we're more familiar with. It's going to be interesting. I think we'll see here maybe the differences where the difference in comfort from the actual hypercars or the G3 cars in LMU versus being more comfortable with the track. I imagine we'll see a bit more fatigue in the second half, but it'll be exciting regardless. Spa, great track. I think it's going to be very exciting. I think it's a track that really lends itself to hypercar racing, GT3 racing, and a bit wider and definitely more opportunities to pass in terms of lapping traffic, etc. So maybe we can focus a bit more on what's the word? Same class
not
racing.
Not having as much carnage with traffic. But have you forgot there's Erosion Radion?
Oh, of course. How could I forget?
Yeah, and the middle sector at Spa, not as bad as Fuji, let's just say. But, there are a couple of sections that could potentially catch out some of our drivers if they are not fully aware while racing, if they're not focusing hard enough. But that will be our final 60-minute race of the season before we have our final at Le Mans in 2 weeks' time. 90 minutes, double points. That could be very critical in the championship standings. So it is still, while we see some bigger gaps are, it's still all to play for, with effectively 3 rounds of points still to be awarded. Looking forward to that. I'm sure you are, Sam, as well. But before we round off, we'll also do a quick run through of what we have coming up this week on oNiD. Tomorrow, we have the 5th round of the Formula Lithium championship on the original South course. So that is at a Norris Ring. So if you like the chaos you've seen today, I guarantee you there will be more tomorrow. Formula E's at Norris Ring. Definitely. On Wednesday, we have the GT3 Sprint Championship. 2 30-minute sprints on ACC, one of our final ACC seasons. So make sure you check that out. That has been very entertaining this year so far with Dave Wood and Stevie Bain. On Thursday, we have the continuation of our iRacing series. With our GT4 championship. That was very chaotic at Winton Motor Speedway last time. And this time, I can't remember what track we're going to off the top of my head. But yeah, it should be another interesting week. And then on Sunday, with the continuation of the GT3 World Championship on ACC, our last Sunday ACC season, before we return on Monday, of course, for the Mon Ultimate. As what's coming up this week. But before we go, any last words, Sam?
No, just obviously thank you everyone for joining us. Do join us again next week, because this series has been so good to watch. Obviously, I'm sure the drivers are having a great time in LMU. I'm having a great time watching it. I'm a little bit jealous, but it's still a great series to watch, I think.
Absolutely, indeed. A lot of fun. But yeah, with that said, thank you again very much for watching. We will see you all next time. Until then, goodbye.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.